Hey guys, no exciting business stuff to report today, but I've been playing around with this cool idea, just like I guess general evolutionary psychology. But today I was thinking a lot about novelty. So just the idea of novelty and how we humans are so prone to chasing novelty. And I think the reason for that in many ways is I feel like there's three channels that you can put novelty onto, and it's like your location or lifestyle and your relationship and then your career. I guess you could put like location slash personal life. Um, but novelty being the sense of a new feeling, something that's exciting and new versus something that's mundane, repetitive, predictable, boring. Something that you know when you wake up tomorrow will still exist and be there. It's secure, predictable, trustworthy. We like excitement and novelty. And I believe that, evolutionarily, the reason behind that is if we are seeking for a new partner, then we're more likely to reproduce, and that's more likely to keep the species alive. If we're trying to find a new location or move locations constantly, it's going to spread out the species, which means that if a natural disaster happens in one little area, we're not all dead. It saved the species once again. And I think that we use it in our personal lives and our careers, um, as a sense of switching between things. And I think the reason behind that is in the same way that you switch habits, you switch routines, is to find solutions to problems or to make things more exciting. That one, I don't really have a good evolutionary answer for. I don't really know why. I'm sure there's like a valid reason. But basically, the idea is we are hardwired evolutionarily to crave new experiences and new things, whether it be a new partner, regardless of what we have. And so many people experience the feeling of wanting what they don't have pretty much constantly, especially guys. And a lot of people look at this in negative light, but really it's just like an evolutionary mechanism to make sure that the species lives. But I think that in a society today where we renounce a lot of the stuff because we typically have one partner, we have a spouse, and we are like faithful to them, and we have a career, and we usually have a home and a location, and typically life becomes pretty repetitive and predictable. And so, in a world, if your life is repetitive and predictable, such as mine, it's like Groundhog Day. This every day is the same. I talk to the same people, do the same things, live in the same place, go to the same places. Everything's the same, and so it can get predictable and boring at times. And so I seek novelty, and thank God in my career, I'm like very bad about this because I like to try a new hustle or new business every like 2 months. And the reason behind this is where I gather my excitement from. This is where it tickles my dopamine in my brain in the same way that somebody else who likes to experience novelty in relationships will sleep around or will have relationships that don't last any more than 2 or 3 weeks before moving on to the next person with maybe a couple days in between. Or people who in their personal lives like to go out and have super adventurous fun, run from the cops, go to parties, clubbing, all these things. And all of these are novel, new experiences. You meet new people, do new things. It's unpredictable. And we like that. And there's like those three different ways you can channel it in today's world. And I just think it's interesting because, specifically in the context of relationships, the question that I'm trying to figure out for myself at least is your time better spent becoming comfortable and learning to enjoy predictability and security and maybe even the boring relationship? Or should you put in effort to continue to try and keep your relationship novel and new and exciting to keep it from dulling down? Because the terminal state of a relationship is boring. You could be with the hottest, sexiest, most exciting lady ever. Lady's probably not the right word, it sounds like old lady, but the hottest, sexiest, most exciting woman ever. But regardless of however long, like eventually it will be old and that will wear off. You will get used to her and it. And then it won't feel new anymore. And then you'll crave novelty in some way. And so, is the goal then to learn to become content with that feeling of novelty, or that need for novelty, but being okay with the boring and mundane relationship, or the security, the predictability of it, knowing that tomorrow you could probably predict what's going to happen? Do you learn to enjoy that and sit with it and appreciate the security that it offers, and that you can go have a long, hard day at work and no matter what, somebody will be there for you? And this is like just the idea of companionship, right? Are you willing to, like, I would say, put excitement and novelty on the back burner and be willing to learn to actually enjoy the predictable relationship? Or is it a better option to try and stay afloat and to keep yourself from drowning by constantly trying to put an effort in to make the relationship novel? Now, I think obviously, as are most things, the answer is somewhere in the middle. And so you should learn to be okay with things getting old, because no matter who you're with, eventually things will get old. What matters is really just like, do you like them? Because past and after the excitement is all over, like, you're just left with the person. like like I said earlier, even the most sexiest person and the most exciting person after a while gets boring. And so then what's left is their personality and who they are and their values, and that's what you're left with. And so I think that you can pick a side of like, do you try and chase new experiences constantly to try and keep the honeymoon phase alive, or do you just accept the fate and learn to be okay with the boring, predictable relationship? And I guess really it's just somewhere in the middle of, you should go on date nights and have new experiences and actually have fun, and that creates a sense of novelty. But the more date nights you go on, the less unique date nights there will be. The more times you go ice skating, the less new it feels, to the point of then the relationship and all of the date nights feel boring, and then everything becomes predictable. And so terminally, when you're 90 years old and you've been with your spouse for 70 years, it's going to be pretty boring. But I'm quite confident by the time I'm 90 years old, I'm not really going to be too concerned about how exciting and erotic my relationship is. I'm going to be more concerned about the person actually being there and trusting them. And so, all of this aside, the conclusion I'm trying to make here is that naturally we humans crave novelty and new experiences, and we, in the modern day, often have to go against this. But if we don't, we channel it in one of three ways, or multiple at the same time. We channel it through relationships by sleeping around or not being able to commit to anybody because we're constantly seeking a new exciting relationship experience, the honeymoon phase. We get in our career, where we're constantly chasing a new job or hustle, or we get our excitement from our job. A good example of this is like legal or like private equity, where you basically have a project that only lasts a certain amount of time, and then you have a new project with completely new context. And so it's constantly something new and changing, versus working on the same software app for 10 years and nothing changes, right? If you constantly get a new case each week and you're in like criminal investigation, that's novelty. And so some people chase that in careers. And then the last one that I would say is, what did I say? It was like your personal life. And so if you're going out and partying or going on cool adventures, running from the cops, like things that are memorable but unpredictable, that's another way of chasing novelty. And so we all channel it into one of those three ways, or multiple of those ways. And so if we're only going to channel it into one of them, so I'm one who channels it in my work, then in the other two, I don't really go out and party and I'm committed in a relationship. And so how do you keep your cravings for novelty at bay? Because naturally we all want everything to be new. Like we want to indulge in every single possible thing. And so we usually need an outlet. And some people, like I said, it's their careers. Mine's my career. Other people, they like to go have fun, and other people like relationships. And so, in the others that you don't choose to make it as an outlet, um, if you're like some people, then you're good. Like it's just normal. Like you're okay with it being boring as long as you have something to excite you on the side. If you're somebody like me who's a lot more like dopamine inclined naturally, then it's like you have to ask the question at some point. It's like, okay, how am I going to handle this in a long-term relationship? Like this feeling of needing novelty. And so it's like, do I constantly trying to keep the relationship novel by introducing date nights and new experiences and fun? Or do I accept that at some point it's going to stop being novel because you can only go out on so many dates and talk to the same person so many times before it becomes predictable? And then just learn to appreciate that predictability and the stability, and then just live with that appreciation. But the whole thing was basically we should do a combination of both. Is you should continue to go on date nights and share experiences, and that does create a feeling of novelty, and it may fade with time, but at least it's some feeling of novelty, while also at the same time putting in effort to also learn and appreciate the more mundane parts of a relationship, and understanding the trust and connection you have with knowing that person's always going to be there, thick or thin, because it may not have to be exciting, and even if it isn't exciting, they're still choosing to be there with you. So that's my whole philosophy on the modern relationship landscape, and how I try and look at it is, in a world where we're hardwired and constantly craving novelty, how do we deal with that in long-term relationships? And the solution I have is try and keep the relationship novel by introducing new experiences, date nights, and traveling, but also learn over time to be okay with the more mundane parts and shift your brain to focus less on novelty and more on security. Shifting from more of a dopamine type of brain to more serotonin, oxytocin type of brain. But yeah, that's a cool thing I learned, and hope you guys can use it. Let me know what you guys think.